let's take a look. Michael, I'm going to start with you because Canada,
Sure.
as we know, after the round of 16, getting set to take on Morocco, and they've done what we've expected them to do so far. So now this is a real big one here, taking on a juggernaut of a team. Morocco is definitely the favorite. And I'm wondering if you actually see this, Canada taking on number or ranked number 6 Morocco as a defining moment for Jesse Marsch and this team to get a result. Could this be their moment at the World Cup?
Yeah, well, it certainly could be. I mean, when you say defining, it certainly is a defining moment given the fact if they don't win, they're going home. So there's no more defining this match than that. But in terms of Jesse, I don't see this as necessarily a defining moment for him as the coach of Canada. What I do think, though, this is a defining moment for what his tactical flexibility and adaptation is. Is he going to be able to show some sort of flexibility in how his team plays and how the DNA is exposed to the opposition? I don't see him changing much, but it will be interesting to see if he's able to change things to the point where people now see this plan B, or how do you deal with an opponent that is obviously the best opponent that Canada has seen so far. So in terms of defining, I'm thinking more of is it a defining moment in terms of how he's going to apply his methodology and tactics tomorrow, or on Saturday.
Yeah. And that would suggest to me that you're not quite sure if Canada can play the Jesse Marsch style and be successful against a team like Morocco, which I think is a fair comment. As far as Jesse Marsch is concerned, absolutely, yes. This is a defining moment, the defining moment for him as Canada head coach. Look, there's been a number of successes. Marsch has done some really good things. That's undeniable. I think the vast majority of Canadians really love the manager as well. But just going through the track record and what this team has been through and where they're at right now, I'm not sure if he has had a defining win or a defining moment. This team had 2 chances to win trophies in competitions that mattered amidst a ton of friendlies heading into this World Cup. What happened? They lost in both the Nations League and the Gold Cup and didn't even make it to the final in any one of those competitions. When we look back on all the results that they've achieved over the course of Jesse Marsch's tenure with Canada, what is that defining win? I'll open the floor to you or anyone else out there. What is the defining win? And I would have to say there hasn't been one. Beating the U.S. in a friendly, they're a top 20 team, but it was a friendly. It was a very different U.S. team than we're seeing today. When we look back at Copa America, they played a lot of teams very competitively. Was it beating Venezuela in the quarterfinals in penalties? Maybe, but Venezuela is not at the World Cup. They're barely a top 50 team. Was it last summer in a friendly against Romania or Wales? Again, 2 other teams not at the World Cup, 2 teams who were lower in the rankings, and 2 teams who also had World Cup qualifying games that very same window. So the Canada game was time to experiment and rotate. Go through the list. There's been some hard-fought draws under Jesse Marsch, but there hasn't been a defining win. This is a chance to step up in competition. Thus far at this World Cup, I'm fine if Jesse Marsch calls the team heroes. I'm fine to celebrate that Canada's in the final 16. It's great. It's an incredible achievement for this country. But let's be honest about who Canada has played and what they've done. They've had the easiest schedule in World Cup history to get to this point of the competition, and they've met expectations. They haven't exceeded them. They beat teams that they should beat, and they've earned their way to this spot. Now is the time to see what this team is all about and whether they're able to rise to the moment with Jesse Marsch as manager of this group.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with the fact that previous results wheels, because I don't look at friendlies as being anything defining in international football. It's part of the process. It's part of the opportunity for coaches to get a good idea of exactly what their program and what their playing staff looks like, where their gaps are, what they have in their back pocket. What I see here is I see a process unfolding here. There's no doubt that this is obviously the best team that Canada has played in terms of obviously at this World Cup, but you look at over a period of time, you're looking at the semifinalists in Qatar, you're looking at finalists in the African Nations Cup. You're looking at a team that is considered to be top 10, if not top 5 now in FIFA rankings, and by performance, I would say that's a good ranking for them. Does this put him in a position where if they're not successful, the world decides that Jesse is not the man for this program? I highly doubt that at this moment in time. I think right now, having got themselves into the 32 and playing against this team, he's probably going to get a bit of a pass, to be quite honest with you. But what I do like what you're saying is this is exactly where Canada and the football program needs to be. There needs to be pressure put on not just our staffs, but on our players in these scenarios, because that's what's then going to show who we really are when it comes to this type of competition.
The goal all along has been for Canada to play in games like this and be competitive. I think part of the reason why the country started to really get behind this team, because in Copa America, they were able to play teams like Argentina competitively. So where are they right now? Like, I don't think they necessarily have to go out and win this game, but they surely need to compete. If not, I understand that a lot of people like the way that Jesse Marsch defends the players, defends the country, the things that he has to say. Even though the rest of the world might not love what he has to say and some of the actions at times, Canadians generally do. And I completely understand that. But this is where you test yourself. We've heard over the course of this 2-year process that Canada wants to be in a place where they can compete against the world's best. I'm honestly sick and tired of hearing about them being 122nd in the world. That was like ancient history. We live in the present. We don't live in the past. And we understand that this group is the best group of players that Canada has. So I'm sorry, this game is not a free hit. The expectation as an underdog isn't necessarily for this team to go and win, even though we've seen Paraguay go in and beat Germany and some teams play up a level against better teams in this tournament. But at the very least, they have to go to compete and show that they belong, because thus far beating the 54th, the 59th, and the 60, well, drawing the 61st ranked team in the world, that's standard fare. That's what we should expect at that point, at this point, especially at a home World Cup.
Sorry, Andy, just one thing. What's interesting, what you just said there is really important, because international football, and specifically World Cup football, Gold Cup, regional tournaments like this, the one thing that's very consistent in international football, and I learned this very early in my career as an international coach, is before you talk about formations and before you talk about tactics and before you talk about anything, even your opponent, you have to establish the right to fight. And if you look at the teams that have competed when I think the public didn't think they'd be able to compete, I'm using the DR Congos of the world here, I'm using the Paraguays of the world here, I'm using the Cape Verdes of the world here. The one thing that was consistent was the fight, right? Individually, as a group. If they don't bring that component to Saturday's game, it's going to be a long day. And because this team is something special, in my opinion, in Morocco, and we have to be aware of that. But 100%, let's show that we have that type of competitiveness, that type of fight, to establish a beachhead that then we can build from.
I think Canadian fans, despite being satisfied with what the Canadian team has done here, will expect that fight. And I find that's the fork in the road. In a country where a sport is still growing, you're achieving a lot of firsts. So a lot of people are happy. But if you are going to test yourself, if you are going to take it to the next level and truly call yourself a football nation, then you should never be satisfied with not going out and winning absolutely everything that you can. So that's where things are.